Hello everyone, how you guys doing? I hope you all doing great. So in last two videos we discussed about basic stuff on Ansible, right? First video we discussed about how Ansible works, and second video we discussed about how Ansible connect with its node. We discussed three different ways. So from here onwards I'm going to use one way and keep going this tutorial, right? So today I'm going to explain you about the inventory and or inventory, depends on how you pronounce it, and what are the different ways we can write the inventory file, and also some ad hoc command, how you can issue commands into your remote nodes to execute on those remote nodes, probably create a user or probably install some packages. All right, so we'll see. So here I have one machine. I already installed Ansible here, right? And I create Ansible directory, and also you can see I added 5 different nodes into this inventory file, right? So if we go here, you can see this is a basic inventory file, right? So I told you, right, there are multiple ways you can write this inventory file. So this is a very basic way. What we do here, we have 1 2 3 4 5 machines, right? And we have a common we have a common variable to all those 5 nodes, right? So remember we discussed this last time, right? If you want to connect with the multiple certificate, you can do, just go and watch the last video. And anyway, if you skip the last video, you must watch that one and come back here. So this is just a one way, right? So let's see whether it's working. All right, so I'm going to use the ping command as last time. Ansible all minus I host minus m ping. Since I'm connecting first time, it may ask to save these keys, right? I have to type yes. So you have to do this because SSH, like when you're trying to connect from the SSH client to another remote SSH, it's asking whether you want to save this certificate as a known host. Then in future you don't have to do this verification, right? So if I run this command and again, you don't, that doesn't ask those things, and it say all the 5 machines are can connect, right? So this is the first ad hoc command you're learning, ping command, right? Ping module. So in any ad hoc command means this command execute like straight away without storing any playbooks, right? If you want to do the same thing again, you have to execute this command again. Let's say you want to create users. If you want to like do this in all the machines you're getting, and if you are a new machine or new group, if you want to do this, you don't use as ad hoc command, right? So then you go for a playbooks, which we are going to discuss in future videos. But let's say something you want to see all the machines are reachable, right? So whether they are connected, and then in that case you can use ad hoc command. So ad hoc command is nothing but you just issue a command from the terminal or whatever the interface you're using, and just one command, right? So you issue the command, you get the results, that's that, that's ad hoc command. But if you want to execute the command again, you have to do the same thing again. So any command start with the Ansible, right? And then all mean the group, right? In our case, the current inventory file don't have any groups, right? So we have just all the 5 IP addresses are listed, right? So in just all, I want to execute for the all minus I, and what is my inventory file, right? So where Ansible is supposed to find those inventory to execute the command. I am going to teach you new parameter minus u. What is the username I need to use to connect to my remote node, right? So since these are EC2 machines, I'm going to say EC2 user, right? And minus m ping. M mean module. What is the module you're going to use? I'm going to use the ping module. So ping module, we discussed the module is something, it's a pre-written program, right? So now when you execute the ping module, what happens is it has all the ports which need to ping to a remote machine, so it will execute, right? So you can run in this way, right? So now that's basic ad hoc command. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this host file and I'm going to group this, right? So I'm going to tell here these are web servers, right? I have 2 web servers, right? And these are database servers, right? And this is my probably gateway, Okay. So now I have 3 different groups, right. So, but I have a parameter certificate for all groups. Okay. So now what I am going to do is I am going to issue the same command again, Ansible all. So it will execute across the groups, right. That is what mean all. So now you can see here, now it execute across the group, but if I do it here like this, instead of the all, I am going to tell here, hey, execute this on my web group, right. So then it execute only 2 nodes, right. If I ask to execute on a gateway, it will only execute on a 1 node, right. So gateway, right, it execute only 1 node. So you get an idea, right. So you can group your inventory and issue command through Ansible to execute only on that particular group, right. It not necessarily to execute commands in all the groups in all the times, right. For example, let's say you want to create a particular user only on the web servers, then you can execute the command like this, right. So now what I'm going to do is, so let me explain it one other thing, right. So you can do this, you can write this inventory file, right. This is a basic inventory file. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to take a copy of this, and I'm going to take a copy of this, right. So I'm going to modify this inventory file. You can write this in a YAML format, right. So you can write this like this. So for example, web. I mean, if you don't know what the YAML format is, you just need to little bit learn about it. So you can this is a very human readable. So YAML format, you can write like this. So web, then we can say web, then we can say host, and then the first IP address, right, and then second IP address, right. So I don't need these lines anymore, and then my next group is DB, okay. So like this you can transform your standard property file format inventory into this YAML format, right. So in case if you want to use any variables here for only for this particular group, so you can do that here. So what you can do is, you can, as a host, you can say was, right, and then you can add a variable then which only affect to this particular group, right. So I'm going to add it here, right. So then this variable will not affect, right. So there's no certificate for any other groups other than the my DB group, right. So let's see how this work, right. So what I'm going to do is Ansible all, I'm going to execute for all anyway, right. So inventory is host, and then you don't, it's not must to pass the minus u because we have the same user in this machine, and then ping, right. So now you will see nothing is worked. We'll see why. Okay, probably I have made some mistake here. Yeah, so when it convert to the YAML format, and this equal sign should not be there, right. So then it has to be a colon, right. So let's try again. So now you can see it only work with the two machines, right, because now I have added my certificate inside the private group, right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to modify that again, right. So you can see here my variable is added only to this var group, right. So that's why only database was able to connect, but none of others, right? So what I'm going to do it here now, I'm going to add this as a common for everyone. So what I can do is here I can add all was, and then I can add this here, right? So now I'm going to delete this. I mean, it's okay even though it's there, but I'm going to remove it, right? So now if I execute this again, now it worked for everything, right? So let me execute again. So now it worked with all the horons, right? So now, so this is a different way you can write the inventory file, right? So let me to show you both in the screen. Right. So this is the new way we did, so YAML, right, and this is the old way we did in the property file format, right. But even here, if let's say you have a common machine, right, which doesn't fall under any group, right, you can add here all hosts, right, then you have to add, you can add those as a children, right. So anyway, so it's just a different format, right, you can choose whatever the way you want to use, right. So let's see how we can get Ansible properties. For example, let's say you want to, when you want to execute, before you want to execute the command on a remote node, probably you want to see what is the date of that machine, right? Or probably what is some basic information like date or the OS, operating system, or any other properties in that machine, or IP address, anyway, you know, any other properties, right? So you can do this with the setup module. I'm going to execute this only with the gateway group, because that only has one machine, so it will be easy to understand. Ansible, not the all, I'm going to use with the gateway group, right, minus I inventory, sorry, host, and minus m, let's pass the minus u, but that's a good practice, minus m is setup, right. So when I execute this command, you will see I get bunch of information here, right. So I execute only against one machine, right. So you get bunch of information here. Let's get a copy of this and try in a JSON viewer and see how this looks like. So I'm going to paste into JSON viewer, and I'm going to format this and go inside the viewer. I think probably when I copy this, okay, so here is too much text, okay. So now you can see it's like it has a bunch of information where you need in case to get information, right. So Ansible IP address already you know, if in case you need IP6 address, and also you can see command line, operating system, date, and memory, and architecture, and everything, right. So you have all the information what you're looking for, probably you need in case you want to execute remote command. So that's a setup module. So now as a third ad hoc command, let's see how we can install something on a remote machine. Most of the time the install process you don't do it as an ad hoc command, usually you do with the playbook. Why? Because you may need to do this repeatedly. Let's say for something like you need to install something which is only one time, you don't need to touch that at all after that. So then you can try with this ad hoc command, right. So what I'm going to do is, let's say let's try whether this application is already there or not first. So let's get the host file and get one IP address. Okay, I'm going to take this. Okay, so if you try to SSH to this as a plain SSH like what we just did yesterday, it won't work because we don't have a certificate added to the machine itself, right. That's one other advantage. If anyone comes to this machine like some way, if they don't know where the certificate is, there is no way they can directly, just because they have access to this machine, they cannot go access to your remote machine, right. But if you add the certificate into this key store yesterday like we discussed, right, as SSH add command, then if anyone come to this machine, they have access to your nodes as well. You need to keep that in mind. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my certificate to connect here. So minus I, right. So now I'm going to connect here, I'm in that. So I'm going to use something like nmap, right, nmap. So nmap command is not found, so that means nmap package is not installed over there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to install that package through Ansible, right. So Ansible, I'm going to install this everywhere in all the machines, right. Ansible all and I host, right, and then minus m, I'm going to install yum module, right. So before that, as a good practice, I'm going to pass the user here. I'll tell you why this is important. EC2 user, right. So minus yum, but yum is not like a pin command, right. The pin command, it doesn't take any argument, but in a yum module you have to tell what to install, right. So I'm going to tell what to install nmap. I need to install the package called nmap, and I expect state to be present, right, the state to be present. And there's one more important switch here called minus b, right, minus b become, right, because the current EC2 user do not have a privilege to install new package into the remote node, right. So therefore it has to become a root user. So therefore you can use the minus b. Then when you use the minus b to install this, it will get a root privileges. So I'm going to execute this. It's supposed to execute on all the 5 machines. Okay, I think I made one mistake. We'll see what is that. Okay, because with this yum, I need to tell. So what next comes as an argument. So that's what I think I'm missing. We'll see whether that's my problem. So looks like yes. So now it will install, right. Okay, good. So this tells it install on all the machines. So we can verify this. We can verify this by like what we did last time. We can go back and see whether this is there, right. So let's say nmap. So you can see now it's there, right. So nmap localhost, right. You can see it's working. That means Ansible install this package on my remote machine, right. So one other thing you need to understand, this is a idempotent command. Idempotent mean like idempotent, people say idempotent, whatever it's again how you pronounce it. So what it means, you can execute the same command again and again. It does not try to reinstall it, right. If I execute this again, right, so it just say nothing to change, right. It will say nothing to change, see, right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one different thing here. I'm going to select here Ansible all. Instead of all, I'm going to select here DB, right. I'm going to select a DB here. Let's change for the web itself, because that's the first one we logged and check, right. So web, and then here instead of the present, I'm going to make this as an absent, right. Instead of present, I'm going to make as an absent. See what happened now, right. So you can see in for the 246 machine, it successfully removed this. So absent mean it removed. So now let's say let's check what is the machine we checked last time. It was 246, right. So 246, right. So nmap, it's not there, that means it's removed, right. So you can see you can use the same command by just checking the state to remove the application event, right. So now if I try to execute this again, the present again, now this will install only those 2 groups, right. You can see the first 3 it's unchanged, right, state unchanged, state change is false, but the 2 machine it executed. I hope you get an idea. You can install package to remote nodes. Like just imagine if you have hundreds and thousands of nodes, you execute one command and Ansible will take care of install this package on all the nodes what you need, right. And you have full customized depend on the group. I'll show you a few other commands like most commonly we use. Like for example, you can check what is the current use of all the machines, right. You can say Ansible all minus I host and minus m shell. I want to execute this on a shell, right? And argument, I want to execute this command uname minus a, right? So what this will do is this will execute this command on all the, it will connect to all the machine, and on that machine shell, right? That machine shell means that command line, it will execute this command, right? So we'll see what it tells you. Yes, you can run a uptime command if you want, right? So uptime, so it will give, so no matter, I mean, in simple, the idea is you can execute, like let's say you manually log into some machine and execute some command in the shell, you can execute same command from the Ansible host on the remote shell. So let's say you want to see, you want to create a particular user in a particular host, right, or group of hosts, right, group of nodes. But if you want to do this manually, you have to log into manually to all those nodes and you have to create the user. But you can do that with the Ansible. But before that, let's see how we can verify whether this user is already exists on that machine, right? So what you can do is you can write Ansible all. I want to see in all machines. I'm going to execute this in a shell command again. I want to cat etc password file, and I want to see whether is there any user called Krish over there, right? So I want to connect to all the nodes and execute this execute cat etc password file and see whether this Krish user is present on that particular machines or not, right? So obviously it's not there because none of machines we created this user. So I want to create the user, right? So I want to create all the user. I want to create a user called Krish in all those nodes, right? How I can do that is the same thing, but I want to use user module, right? So here again I want to pass an argument. My username is Krish, right? So but you will see here you will get an error, right? So because this current user do not have permission to create a new user on the remote nodes, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use minus b, right? So then it will create user, right? So now you can see it create Krish user on all the nodes, right? So now this is the information about the user, right? Group and home directory and everything. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the previous command and see whether this user is exist, right? Whether user is exist. So now you will see it exists on all the nodes, right? So just imagine if you had to create this user manually, how long it would take you to do that, manually log into each machine. But with Ansible it's just one command. But keep in mind, so these commands, most of these commands you don't execute as ad hoc command. I just wanted to show you what the ad hoc command and how those execute and what are the things you can do. But mainly these things execute on a playbooks, right? So playbook is nothing but it's kind of a scenario you write on the YAML file, then you execute that. So next video I'm going to show you roles and the playbooks and how those things work together, right? So till that, make sure you share this video with your colleagues and the friends and who are interested in these type of things, because then we can get more people to learn these things, right? And also make sure you subscribe to the channel and also click that bell icon, and so whenever I upload a video you will get notification, so you can watch that video before I release the next video. So then stay safe, take care, see you soon.